Hello, this is a Health Board presentation for a diabetes registry database for the Southern New Hampshire area, presented by Hannah Lowell. Diabetes Registry Value. Diabetes registries provide electronic listings of patients along with data of clinical interest, such as diagnosis, ages, and A1C levels. Registries are valuable because they depict ways to improve chronic diseases as well as supply an avenue for population management. First of all, we're going to cover how the diabetes registry can store data. We have several tables that carry the following information, including demographics, diagnosis, medication, and we've also chosen to follow eye exam information and whether the patient has had nutritional counseling. All of these facets are important areas of the management of the diabetic patient. This is what the registry looks like, and here are the four tables that we have. The first table consists of demographic information, and here we have information such as patient ID, first name, last name, and the city that is within Southern New Hampshire, along with gender. This is our demographic information. Next, we have our diagnosis table. We want to understand also the diagnosis and what their A1C level was at the time of diagnosis. We have eye exam and nutritional counseling. Again, the common identifier is that unique patient ID within the Southern New Hampshire registry. We want to know whether the patient has had a retinal eye exam in the last 12 months and whether they've received nutritional counseling. Finally, we want to follow up on what medications these patients are taking. We have, again, the common identifier of their patient ID. This can keep data secure by not having to show name every time a view is created. We also have medication, dose, and frequency. Let me show you how the data looks in each of these tables. We have that common patient identifier along with the first name, last name, date of birth, cities located within Southern New Hampshire, and gender. This is all located in the demographics table and can be pulled with any other information if needed by the provider or other researchers. Here we have information that's on the diagnosis table. Again, you'll notice that in this table, certain identifiers like name and date of birth are suppressed. So we only see that common patient identifier. We have their diagnosis. We're following type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, and gestational diabetes. We also have their A1C levels. Next, we're following up on these patients with their eye exams and whether they've had nutritional counseling as it pertains to their dietary needs. There's a yes or no answers for retinal exams in the last 12 months and nutritional counseling. Lastly, we have the medication table. As you can see, some of our patients are taking metformin, some are not taking any medication. We have glucotrol and insulin, along with various units and milligrams and their frequency. Another feature is the database can be customized to develop views based on what providers, researchers, or other departmental needs want to see. Here's what a view looks like. In this first case, we've created a view where we're pulling just the patient identifier. So we're excluding name and date of birth. We are including gender because we want to know whether these patients are male or female. We're pulling their A1C levels, and we're also pulling their diagnosis, which means whether they have type 1, type 2, or gestational diabetes. Here's an example of a second view created where we also have the same information, but we've added additional information. We just want to have the ability to pull those patients with an A1C level of 6.5 or greater. And here's where we've demonstrated our ability to do that for providers that have that query. Database security is very critical to securing personal health information. Different levels of access can be provided with this diabetes registry to users based on their needs. We have examples of 4 accesses. We have administrator, we have the ability of an individual to back up the database, we have the ability to view and add data but not delete data, and the ability to view data entered within the last week only. Here are examples of our 4 users that we have with different levels of access. Abby is the Health and HIT coordinator, and she is the owner and administrator of the database. She's the one that can provide access, that manages the access, and sets up users with various views based on their needs. Next, we have Ben, who has the ability to back up the database. We have Cindy, who has the ability to insert and modify data, but not delete data. And we have Dan, who can only read the data within the last week. And let me show you how we set that up. We set up Abby with all privileges on the database so that she's able to, again, set up other users based on needs and also manages and organizes the database. She can set up providers with various information based on their role and what they need to be able to view. Next, we have Ben, who is our person who has the capability to back up the database. We do need to have backup copies in order to maintain various reversioning if needed. Next, we have our user Cindy, who can select, insert, and update data to the diabetes registry, but she's not able to delete data. This is a security measure that is in place to ensure that the data integrity is maintained. Last, we have the user named Dan. Dan has the ability to view data as of the last week only. Again, this is a security measure in place that ensures Dan is able to just get the data he needs from within the last week of the facility. And that was all that he required for his research project. Thank you for viewing my diabetes registry database.